Welcome back to Kingdom Campers. Today we are going to be working on a axle flip kit, or what's better known as a over-under conversion kit, as I'm looking at the box here. It's from Dexter. I bought it off of eTrailer. The model number is K7138400. I'll also be listing that down below with a link to eTrailer and the part that I actually purchased. So, the reason I need this, or the reason I'm wanting to do this, is my trailer, a 2017 Grey Wolf Limited, seems to sit pretty low compared to other trailers that I've seen. So far I have hit my black tank or my stabilizer jacks twice now in different camping adventures. I tend to go off-road in places, off the beaten track, more into the woods, things like that. Although we do love the campgrounds, we love the full hookups. It makes it a lot easier for the kids, but then you're just around tons of people also. So, I'm not saying one way or the other is better. Just for us, we tend to do both, depending on where we're going, things like that. When I'm working with my nonprofit company that I work for, we tend to stay in places that are off the beaten track, get away from people, and we clean up the woods and the forests and the deserts, things like that. So, that's why I am interested in doing this conversion kit. Now, I'll show you the kit itself. So we'll bring you in here. Get this here. This is the kit itself. So let me start with this here first. This is what you get in one package from eTrailer. You get 4 U-bolt shackles, 4 U-bolts, 4 shackles, 2 leaf spring holders, and then all the miscellaneous bolts and hardware. Now, the thing you want to avoid is doing what I did and not realize that one kit is designed for one axle. My trailer is a dual axle, so when I first purchased this kit, I purchased one and I was happy, ready for it, and then I read a little bit more of the descriptions, and they told it, the descriptions stated one kit is for one axle, so I had to purchase 2. So as you'll see here, I have 2 kits. So each one has all the necessary parts, all the same parts, everything like that. So, and even on the box here, let's see if we can get in on this. So spring seat, nut coupling, U-bolts, tie plate, and the instruction sheet. So all the parts that came with it are listed and are here. Zooming, focus, and there we go. So all the parts are here. Now it's just a matter of getting the trailer lifted up, getting the wheels off, getting the axles removed, and then putting on this kit, getting it all buttoned back up, and then starting on our next adventure, which is in 3 days, I think. So this kit is typically, most people say they do it in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. With me doing the filming and moving cameras and things like that, might take a little bit longer, but I'm hoping in this Arizona heat, I live in Phoenix, it's about 9:30 in the morning, it's already, I don't know, 95 degrees out, so that's why I'm already sweating. I'm not glistening, I am sweating already, and I'm in my garage. So, once I get into the sun, it's going to be even worse, but something I need to do. Something I need to get finished, and before it gets too hot, let's get it done. Alright guys. Alright, got all the wheels off, got it all jacked up. Now I got to get into it. I'll show you the trailer as it stands now. So, wheels are off, got it all jacked up. The other side here. Got the wheels off there. And then you can see the axles. So, next up is to get off the springs here, the bolts, and then I'll be able to roll the axle out from underneath the leaves and then underneath of them. So that's going to be the next project. So let's get into it. Alright, so now we're working underneath the trailer, and we're getting these spring perches set up right. So here's the original old one that's on the trailer still. You can see the axles, the leaf springs there, perch. I took off the original, so it looks like that there originally. Guess it's kind of bright out there, hard to see, but so we're getting these set up, the new perch is set up. They have these leveler nuts. I don't know the exact word for them, but they are going to sit on top of the old perch once you flip it over, and you'll adjust these nuts down. You'll adjust these nuts down here to sit flush with the old perch. You want to make sure that the new perch is flush also with the old one. I'm gonna just eyeball it here for now on both sides, and then see if I can get a better measurement with the tape measure. I'll make sure it's sitting down onto the axle and not lifting up. It's pretty good. The tape measure. Check that out. Alright, now we're gonna measure this. So, on this front side here, we're at 2 1/4. It's kind of hard to see. It's focusing on my face instead. 2 1/4 on the front, and 2 1/4 on the rear. Just double check. So 2 1/4. Looks like this front side could go up a little bit, actually. Just trying to keep it on the axle itself and not push up. So two and a quarter. Sorry, there's a delivery man. Threw me off. Two and a quarter. Alright. So, that one's good. Now with mine, typically you're going to need to lengthen your wires, but on my axle here, they actually already had extra wiring. It was just bundled up. Ooh, terrible. Bundled up in the wiring here, or in the in a little spot here. Yeah. Trying to get focus on my hand, but I have extra wiring, so let's see if I can move it better. So all this extra wiring. So once we actually get the kit or the axles flipped, should be plenty enough length to be fine. If not, I have plenty of stuff to be able to do that. So, all right, well, let's get on to the next one. All right, so first step is getting these U-bolts removed. Mine's just a standard 3/4, so just using a 3/4 to undo it. I could get my breaker bar and everything. Don't feel like I need it. The last one came off pretty easy, so yeah, they're coming pretty good. No big deal. A little bit of oomph, but nothing major. So the biggest thing with this is you don't want to literally flip your axles. Many different reasons. They're not designed for that. The axles are designed to be installed this way. The axles themselves have a crown in the middle that help with balancing and road weight distribution, things like that. So they're not designed, ouch, they're not designed to be flipped, literally flipped over. What you're flipping is you're flipping the axle itself from an underslung to an overslung. So you go from on top of the springs to below the springs. That's why people call it an axle flip. Well, you can do a literal actual axle flip, but you don't want to because it messes up a lot of different things and the geometries and just the engineering aspect of it. So getting a kit like the Dexter allows you to keep the geometries right, but still gain the extras. Alright, so now that side is done. So you can see the axle is loose now. So now we need to figure out what to do is how I'm going to get this axle moved. I can move it from one side to the other, rotate it, lift, so that slide over, put it under, lift it back up, or I can drop the springs. So I'm gonna work on that next, and yeah, you guys will see what happens. I feel like the neighbor on Home Improvement back in the day, if anyone ever watched that one. Can't remember his name right now. But anyways, alright, so just wanted to mention one thing before I move the axles is on the brake lines, you want to make sure and mark them in such a way that you can remember what goes where. So, because I know from experience, it is a pain in the butt when you don't mark your electrical and then you have to try and get back to it. So with mine, what I did is after I cut them, I just put tape on one end. So just tape there, just tape on that end. So I know after I'm done and get it back together that these two ones are going to go together. I know it might be simple, might be trivial, but it is a major deal. It's a major deal if you get it wrong. And if you forget, you might need to do some electrical tests, hook up your tow rig and do the brakes, things like that. So it just makes it makes it harder, so might as well just do it right the first time. So, all right, so we got the other side, the other bracket put on now. So you can see it over there. Now it's time to move this axle. Let me get a better center for it first. Drop the leaf springs, drop the axle, roll it down and back. So that's what we're going to try and do. Alright, so I'm going to try and show you what I did here. It's a little bright out here now, but on the springs, what I decided to do was drop the springs, the leaf springs, so that I could then lower down the axle and drop it forward, and I'll show you what I did here. So here is the spring, leaf spring shackles. So there's a leaf spring. So it was there, and then I dropped it down. Now what the plan is to, I have my axle on a jack there, so I'm going to drop it down, push it forward. So I'm going to drop the jack down, push the whole thing forward, put the leaves back up, pull it back over, lift it back up, and attach it. So that is the plan. We'll see how it works out. All right, well, here we go. Alright, so now the axle is underneath. Next is going to be the shackle points, the end points. I think it's called the tie plates. I always forget what they're called. So next are going to be these. This is going to go on there. Then the U-bolts go through the holes. And so then that's it. So it's pretty simple. I've been drawing it out, just taking my time, you know, learning as I go. But yeah, it's pretty simple kit. You know, just doing it myself for the most part. If you had someone out helping with you, you'll go a little smoother. A few more things that you could do to make it speed up, but you know, I'm just taking my time. Although I shouldn't. It's Arizona summer heat. Although it's a cold breeze came in, or a cold front came in. It's only 96 today apparently, so not bad. But yeah, let's get back to it. Alright, well there's completion of side one. Next it's going to be the other side, and then eventually come back and do a bead on the new shackle right there. It's not welded now, obviously, because I just put it on there, but yeah, so that's going to be next step. So now on to the other ones. Here we go. So we got it all done, got it all on, got all the hangers, everything's tightened down. Even got the brakes rewired, extended. So let me show you those. Oh, I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm gonna go through and show you the kit right now. So there's the new kit installed. There's the shackles, U-bolts. Shackles and U-bolts, all the good fun stuff. There's the front one. There's the rear one. Now, got it all done, got it all buttoned up, and I realized there's a problem. If you see what the problem is, drop a comment and tell me what you think the problem is. Here, let me show you again the axles now. So, there's my axles. There's my ground clearance right now. Oh, let me get that down for you. So right now, my axles are about 2 inches off the ground. My tires are not only 2 inches big. So, yeah, that's the problem. Trying to figure it out, but until then, let me take you guys over and see the... Sorry, I gotta bring my cable with me. Show the brake wiring. I think it's adequate. I won't fully know until I get the tires on and get it dropped all the way though. But so here's the, it's all sunny and shaded, but there's the new brake wiring. So it's the original cables. They just were tied up down below here, and so I was able to untie them, lengthen them, cut them, reattach them. So what I do, or what I did, I have, let me show you these. So these are a heat shrink, somewhere in there, a heat shrink end connector. I know that's hard to see. I'm trying. So once I heat up the ends, they actually turn into a gel, and they'll shrink around. Anyways, I know it's hard to see, but they will shrink, turn into a gel around the edges, and then seal up. And then what I have after that is a standard heat shrink, just Harbor Freight Specials. And I do 2 layers of that. So you can kind of see the progression of it. So I have a big bubble here, it kind of goes out to a bubble there and a bubble there. So this is the heat shrink end connector. Then there's the heat shrink. So the standard heat shrink, the first layer, and then here is the secondary layer from here to the top. So did that on that side, and also on this side here, so in the middle there. So yeah, that's it for now. All right, well, next you're gonna see us trying to get the tires on. Product plug. So Natural Restorations is a nonprofit that I work for. True Flask is one of our sponsors, so they help us out fiscally, and they also give us They provided us with some bottles initially, and then supplemental ones we'll purchase, things like that. New lids, new caps, so we love them. They work well out in the desert. I've had mine ran over before, they got squished. Eventually the inner seal popped, but it wasn't leaking any water or anything like that, so works good until then. So I'll stick with them. All right, guys, well, all done. Man, took me all day. A couple holdbacks, things here and there that made me lose time, but all in all, wasn't too terrible. But here is the finished product. You can see behind me. It's gonna be a little hard to see. Got the sun in the way now, but the thing is sitting great. So unfortunately, I forgot to measure beforehand what my wheel wells were. So I can't give exact measurements of difference, but I know for sure that it is now sitting at 35 inches from ground to wheel well is now 35 inches. My black tank, which was the biggest concern, now is from ground to lowest point on black tank is now 15 inches above ground, which for me is phenomenal. For me, that's great. Like I said, I've cracked my black tank a few times now. Where we go is always mostly off-road for work, so having this much clearance now is going to be great. I can go into deeper places and further places and not have to worry about breaking stuff now. But yeah, that's the finished product. Let me see if I can get in here to the brake lines again and show you a better idea of what they look like now. So here they are now. There's a good amount of movement. Shouldn't be an issue. I don't foresee them dragging on the wheels really either. Maybe I'll secure them a little better after first drive. Here's the other side. So plenty of length now though. I mean, I'm not having to worry about it being short. All right, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, give that a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe down below. Feel free to comment. Love to hear your words. All right, guys. Until next time, have fun, enjoy the adventure. See you guys.